If you've ever tried to build something new, you know that feeling, right? Hitting a wall. That moment where it feels like it's all over. But what if that wall wasn't an end at all, but a beginning? In this explainer, we're going to break down how a simple shift in your thinking can turn your biggest setbacks into your most powerful comebacks. So let's just start with this one powerful idea. Let's flip our biggest fear right on its head. What if failure wasn't the endpoint? What if every single time you stumbled, it was actually the starting line for a smarter, stronger path forward? You see, that one little shift in perspective, well, that's the real key to innovation. Okay, so before we can turn failure into fuel, we have to accept a fundamental truth about creating anything new. And it's this. If you're pushing boundaries, if you're trying to do something that actually matters, setbacks aren't just possible, they are an absolute guarantee. Now, this isn't about being negative, it's about being real. Innovation, by its very nature, is a journey into the unknown. And let's be honest, that territory is never a smooth ride. Accepting that bumps and stumbles are a natural, even necessary part of that journey, that's the first real step toward becoming truly resilient. So if setbacks are going to happen no matter what, the real question isn't how do I avoid them? It's how do I react to them? And the key, the absolute game changer, is to shift our perspective, to stop seeing failure as a crisis and start seeing it for what it really is, pure, unfiltered data. Think about that phrase for a second, powerful, unvarnished data. You know, success can actually hide problems sometimes, but a failure shines a giant spotlight on them with perfect clarity. Imagine your new app launch bombs. If you see it as a personal defeat, you might just give up. But if you see it as data, well, you dive into the numbers and discover, hey, the onboarding process is way too confusing. Suddenly, it's not a personal failing. It's a clear, solvable problem. It's a diagnostic report for your entire strategy. You see, every setback hands you a choice, and the results of that choice are, well, they're stark. If you frame it as a personal failure, that path leads straight to feeling demoralized and just getting stuck. But if you frame it as data, all of a sudden, you have clarity. You have the raw material you need to make a smart, strategic pivot. The event itself, the failed launch, the rejected proposal, it's neutral. It doesn't have any built-in meaning. The power is 100% in your hands. How you frame it is what decides whether that event becomes a dead end or the launch pad for your next, even better idea. All right, so a powerful mindset is step one, but we all know it needs to be backed up by actual practice. So how do you really build that strength to turn data into progress, especially when the pressure is on? Well, it all comes down to building resilience. I think this definition is just so important. Resilience isn't just about bouncing back to where you were before. No, it's about using the energy of the setback itself to bounce forward, to grow stronger and more capable than you ever were before. It's an active, forward-moving thing. So how do we actually do this? It really starts with 3 concrete actions. First, you've got to anchor yourself in your mission and your values. They're your compass when a storm hits. Second, seek support. Build a network, because getting an outside perspective is priceless. And finally, and this is the step that truly turns failure into data, conduct a blameless debrief. The focus has to be relentlessly on what went wrong with the process, never ever on who is to blame. That's how you turn pain into pure productivity. And look, this whole resilient mindset, it isn't just a coping mechanism. It is the very engine that powers long-term achievement. Let's connect all the dots here and see how this creates the path to your ultimate comeback. This cycle is literally the engine of all progress. Think about it. First, you make an attempt. Then, inevitably, you hit a setback. But instead of stopping, you analyze the feedback that setback just handed you. And then you use those insights to strengthen your foundation for the next attempt. Every single turn of this wheel makes you smarter, stronger, and more strategic. When you really, truly embrace this way of thinking, a setback is completely transformed. It's no longer just a failure. It becomes the necessary preparation, the setup for your next and much more powerful comeback. So, I'll leave you with a new question to ask yourself. The next time you hit that wall, don't ask, why did I fail? Instead, ask this: what valuable data did this just give me? Because that data, that's the key to your comeback.